Hello, and I'm Dr. Raymond Brill here with Perry Brill. We are about to enter the next episode of Eyetrepreneur. Today, our topic is going to be myopia management. You know, most of you don't know, but I wear contact lenses, and when I was 5, I went to the first eye exam, and it was an old double ENT. It looks like he did more the ENT than the eye. Couldn't see well, and then went to my optometrist. Shortly after that, we moved, and everybody that has ever had the first eye exam, he said, wow, I can see. And it was leaves on trees. It was lines between bricks. So at that point or shortly after, I thought, I would love to help people do this. But I would love to have helped prevented from having myopia, or high myopia at least. And that's a hot topic today in optometry. Myopia management. Sometimes we say myopia control, sometimes myopia prevention. So today, our guest is Dr. Nick Despotidis from Hamilton Square, New Jersey, and eye care professionals of the town. So Nick is a motivational speaker. He's done a TED Talk. He's written a couple of books. I've attended 2 of his Supercharge seminars. You can't get more motivational than Nick. Welcome to Eyetrepreneur, the podcast for Wizards of Eyes. I'm Dr. Raymond Brill with my co-host,
Perry Brill, and we're here to bring you stories about Wizards of Eyes. Yes, what is a wizard, Dr. Brill?
Well, these are folks that you may have heard about, may not have heard about. These are people who are actually very successful in doing what they do in all aspects of eye care.
We're not talking to self-proclaimed industry geniuses, experts, masters, or gurus, because we're talking to wizards of eyes that make it happen each and every day.
They are out there working every day in the labs, on the road, in the practices, in surgery suites, making lenses, making frames.
Yes, we want to hear these back-of-the-house stories about innovation, entrepreneurship, and make you feel excited to do what you do.
We want you to be energized about the whole eye care field. And this is not your big optical program. This is done out of the passion of our hearts.
Please go ahead and subscribe to Eyetrepreneur, the podcast for Wizards of Eyes on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, or your favorite app. Also, visit Eyetrepreneur.com, where you'll find our latest blogs and special video content. That's www.eyetrepreneur.com.
This episode of Eyetrepreneur is supported by 3DNA Eyewear, the only 3D facial scanning bespoke eyewear design app that allows opticians to design any frame a creative mind can imagine, like frame materials made from wood, shell, buffalo horn, carbon fiber, acetate, titanium, and even your favorite vinyl records, delivered to your office in as little as 7 days. Are you tired of being showroomed? Are you tired of RXs walking out your door for cheap do-it-yourself online ordering? Well, no more perpetual in-office try-on of frames until it's so confusing that you lose the sale. Free up capital, lower your inventory costs, and make frames to order. All you do is design the frame for a perfect fit based on a 3DNA facial and head scan. Join the revolution of 3DNA eyewear providers and stand strong against mass-produced frames. You are in charge of the design and material selection. It's your brand now. Download the app for free at our website, eyetrepreneur.com/wizard, and start designing today with our special limited time offer. I'd like to welcome to the forum here.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. Nick, I thought we would start, maybe you can introduce yourself, tell us about your upbringing, tell us about your journey into optometry and myopia management.
Sure. It's very different than yours. I remember it's very serendipitous, my inroads to optometry. I worked at a hardware store, and I was on my own. I've been on my own since I was very young. And I was going to buy the hardware store. I was very entrepreneurial. I was about 17, on my own. And one day, the hardware store owner came in and said, Nick, I sold my business to an auctioneer, gave me an offer I couldn't refuse, and I was out of a job, just like that. And I remember that the gentleman who owned the hardware store, his son was an optometrist. And I said, it always interested me to see what optometrists do. And this was an excellent opportunity since I was out of a job. I started working at a chain at the time. I think it was a Cohen's Optical. I'm from New York. And I got a job, and I liked wearing a tie at the time. I liked the professionalism, even though it was in a mall. And I learned a lot from the optometrists and from the eyeglass area. And I worked very hard to get through optometry school. I went to SUNY, College of Optometry, having 20/20 vision, perfect vision. But as I went through optometry school, I started becoming myopic. And that led me through a long journey through functional vision. I did a residency in vision therapy because I really wanted to know more about the accommodative binocular system. And I was very interested in pediatrics. So that's really my experience. You know, I didn't visit optometrists until much later in life.
Well, you're probably unique in your class of being probably the only emmetrope there. So, so everybody practiced on you because you were the guy with the good eyes, right?
I don't remember. I don't remember. I had a mission. You know, I'm very proud that I put myself through college, put myself through optometry school. This was all business for me. It wasn't a graduate program,
right?
And I really wanted to be entrepreneurial. I thought initially I wanted to do open up my own office. So after I did the residency program, I got a job with a very renowned vision therapy doctor. And I practiced with him for about 3 weeks. And I remember this
3 weeks
so vividly because I was married at the time. Our first child was just going to be on the way. And my wife was so happy I finally graduated. 4 years of college, 4 years of optometry school. And now you want to do this residency program, which paid me $14,000 at the time.
Right.
And 3 weeks into this job, I get a phone call on a Sunday, and this doctor said, Nick, it's not working out. So my wife asked, what do you mean it's not working out? And embarrassingly, sheepishly, I said, it's not working out means we don't have a job. So in that point, after literally 4 years of optometry school, doing a residency of vision therapy, I decided this is not going to happen again. And almost right away, I opened up my practice in 1988. And with my partner, Barry Tannen, we haven't looked back since. I mean, we've seen a lot of changes and evolutions through our office. But we really enjoy our practice. I don't know how long you've been in practice, Ray, but how long have you been in practice?
Been in practice since 1978. I was actually in the Army for 4 years and then joined a pediatric ophthalmology practice, then started my own.
Wow. What year was that?
That was in 1983, started my own cold. Yeah. And it's helpful not to know everything. It's helpful to be naive because you would not do half the things that you did.
Right.
But I remember having nightmares about figuring out a pegboard system. So that worried me a lot. So
yeah. Well, you know what? You have hunger. You know, you're hungry. You've burnt the bridges behind you when you open up cold. So you're right. You don't know what you're doing, but you make it work.
Right. Well, you work hard. And at that time, I figured we can compete. And I competed based on hours. And we were open for several years, 8 to 8, Monday through Thursday, 8 to 5, Friday and Saturday. I thought I can be available. And nowadays, the younger doctors say, oh, I'll just get a fill-in job somewhere, work 3 or 4 or 5 fill-in jobs. And I thought, nope, I will be there. And if they were able to come in, we get them in. So
yeah, we did too. It's very interesting. Our slogan at the time was personalized care with the convenience of a chain, something to that effect, because we were open also all week, Saturday. But, I that was not the answer, because I think With the younger ODs, it's a totally different environment. You and I our competition may have been a retail chain at the time. No longer. Now we're dealing with very disruptive forces like online refractions, online contact lenses. So the OD that says, I'm going to compete, like you and I said, on convenience, there's nothing more convenient than turning on your computer and ordering your contact lenses at 2 a.m. and getting them delivered in a day or two. And it's going to get much more sophisticated. And I hope we get into that because, I just saw, I don't know if you read that, do you know about this conglomerate of Amazon, JP Morgan Chase, and also Berkshire Hathaway have joined forces to create their own healthcare system under the premise maybe for their own employees. They're being sued now by other insurance companies like United Health. So clearly the tables are changing very rapidly. And I think the younger OD really, if they're going to compete on being open, it's a lost opportunity there because that's not going to happen right now. It's not.
Well, that's an expectation. Nowadays, I mean, everybody expects to be able to go to the mall and be there till 9 o'clock. But people used to look out we trial frame the glasses and they look out my front window and say, oh, I see it. Great. Superior Optical Company. It was right across the street. And then right down the street was an optical, called the Optical House that was there for 50 years. So, and another optometrist like a few houses away. So I thought, I'm going to go where people go because as a previous Burger King manager, McDonald's was always across the street from Burger King. So never as busy, but
yeah. I think as we progress through optometry and really any type of business, consumers are looking to become intimate with the businesses they do commerce with. So whether it's an online glasses company, online contact lens company, or dealing in person with a doctor, we want to grow these relationships. And online's doing it really well because they have so many points of contact because it's digital. It's through email, it's through text, it's through social media. And I think, which we're going to touch on here real shortly, orthokeratology is one way to have more touch points with our patients throughout the years. It's not get an eye exam every 3 years. It's like, no, we're gonna be managing your eye health over the years and become family. And I think that's what's really cool about orthokeratology. So I actually did Ortho-K.
Yes.
My dad was so kind to get me on the bandwagon at a young age. I think I was in kindergarten, had these awesome round glasses with dolphins on the side. They were hideous. I remember going to kindergarten, didn't want to pull them out of my backpack. And I started probably in 4th or 5th grade, and I probably would have been way more myopic than I was if I did not undergo it. Now, I was a bad Ortho-K patient because I would lose my lenses, leave them at friends' houses, lose them down the drain. So
just get me some more.
Yeah.
No, I said, no, you don't come in for your visits. You're not wearing your lenses. You can't remember where they are. I'm discontinuing you because as a regular patient. And his older brother wore them till in the middle of medical school up till about age 27.
Yeah.
And held back his progression. So, and I know you fit your kids too, right, Nick?
Absolutely. That's what interested me in this technique. We we opened up in 1988. About 4 years later, my partner Barry said, I'm going to fit these hard contact lenses, and they're going to correct people's vision as they sleep. And anecdotally at the time, there was some evidence that showed that it slowed down myopia progression. And quite frankly, I thought it was nuts. I mean, hard lenses, This is the day and age of AccuView. AccuView just stopped, all their older traditional lenses, that everything was disposable. And here he's fitting a hard lens. I didn't want anything to do with it. And then about a few years later, we saw some anecdotal data within our office, and both my kids started becoming myopic in 2nd grade. And that was my impetus to get into Ortho-K, because you'll do anything for your kids.
Right.
And
now, did you start with daytime Ortho-K or Did you
Nighttime.
start with overnight?
Yeah, I don't remember back in 92. It may have been daytime, but I don't think it was. No, daytime Ortho-K was before the reverse geometry lenses.
That's right. And I remember studying it actually in optometry school. And I have all the original NERF little handbooks on it. And there was a local doctor in Chicago. Of course, that's where Wesley Jessen was. And there was a local doctor, Paul Lederer. And he was pioneering Ortho-K. And a lot of people that were in Chicago were. And I thought, I'm going to do that. But we had a heck of a time because nobody knew about it. They still don't know about it by and large. So the problems of the 90s were still the problems today. So
let's fast forward kind of 20 years. You guys both had early adoption rates, both in the families and inside the practices. You know, what is Ortho-K today? Where does it fit into the business of private optometric practices?
Yeah, I think Ortho-K or myopia management is in vogue now. And I caution my colleagues to try not to jump into myopia management because it may just be a profit center. I think we've prospered very well in our office, and maybe for Raymond also, is we have certain values. The values are we like to see our kids, our patients grow into adults. Like you said, I value relationships. When they say, Dr. D, thank you very much. Remember you fit my son 20 years ago, that gives me a buzz. If you don't like working for pediatrics and you're going to get into Ortho-K, in my opinion, I think Ortho-K, as it stands today, is a pediatric modality. Number two, it allowed us, to start getting off the vision plans. Because from 88 to 98, we were prospering. We were busy. And at the time, busy meant
profitable.
Because people used to buy glasses. They used to get their contacts from us. So the majority of our income was from commodities after we did the eye exam. And I remember at one point, we wanted to get on as many plans as we could so we can have a higher number of volume, and therefore it would transition to profitability. But luckily for my part, having my partner Barry, we realized, we're working harder than ever.
Right.
And they're not getting glasses. I don't know if you do this. I'm sure you have, Ray, is that we monitor everything in our office. And our walkout rate was like 7%, maybe in the low 90s. And then it was jumping to about 14% in the upper to high 90s. And then it was up also at 26%. And we're like, this is scary stuff. And I just read an article in Optometry Business or something like that where they said how to convert your vision care patients into private pay. And I have to tell you, we played that game. It's a difficult game to try to get someone who comes in with their vision care plan. They expect to get what's covered. And your job, if so to speak, is to make sure they get what's best for them, which may be two pairs. And there your whole focus gets sidetracked. So I don't want myopia control to be like this. And I talk about a year or two ago, everything was dry eye. Everybody had Demodex, and we dry eye was in vogue. And before that, maybe it was genetic testing and AMD. Maybe nutraceuticals was in vogue. I think myopia management is here to stay for a select few of optometrists and ophthalmologists and eye professionals that really do care about their patients, value, like you said, Perry, the relationship, and have the patience to offer the family quality care. Because what I have found, the easy part in myopia management, in my opinion, is the vision correction, is the Ortho-K, soft bifocals, or atropine eye drops, whatever you choose, if any, to use. Managing the family who views myopia as a disease very carefully and delicately, that's the art that has led to our success.
Yeah. So walk us through inception from, acquiring a new patient through the sales process and then the follow-up care.
Yeah. One of the things I teach, getting patients from your primary care patients is a difficult job, a difficult undertaking. Because as good as I am, as passionate as I am, I still say about every 40 myopic kids, that I present Ortho-K to will convert to what we refer to as a consultation, the next step. So that just showed me early on, just because a child was myopic, it did not mean the parent was interested in myopia management.
Well, you plant the seed, don't you, though? I mean,
What's
a lot
that?
of times you plant the seed. I mean, you say, well, look at last year they were playing. Oh, this year they're minus 75. Let's go over, let's talk about options here. Let's go over what could happen and what we could do about it. And then next year you say, well, remember we spoke about this, so perhaps we have to plan ahead, plant the seed, you know, have them aspire to it over time. I mean, do you do that with the 1 out of 40? I mean, do you do that with the 39 out of 40 then?
Great point. And you need patience. Absolutely. But I have to tell you, it's exhausting for a primary care doc. Absolutely. You know, I talk about it where I'll look in the chart, recommended Ortho-K, recommended Ortho-K.
Right.
Finally, by the third or fourth visit, I say, what are we doing here? We're increasing your child's prescription every year. It's making my stomach turn. We need to do something different. But the reality is, Ray, is that that's exhausting. So when they say no that year, now it's hard to change channels and say, we're going to do disposable one-day contacts. Or how about, you know, I don't like the laundry list of we can do this, that, or the other thing. I like to.
Yeah, I don't like giving them the menu. I like being in charge of the care.
Yep. So that's exhausting. So the way we grew, Perry, is basically once we got one, we made them an advocate for myopia management Ortho-K, because they got on the soccer field. They spoke to friends and family and said, my child doesn't wear glasses anymore. He wears these nighttime lenses. And parents would say, nighttime, you're not supposed to sleep with your contacts. That's dangerous. I said, no. These are, so that's how I grew. If I had to grow 1 in 40, it's too exhausting. And it also detracted from everything else, because if there was some other condition, let's say dry eye, or they needed glasses or something, now I had to change channels, and then I would get behind. So I alienated my staff and the patient. A lot of times they would say, let me just have my script, because they were overwhelmed.
Yes,
so
yes.
You need patience, no doubt about it. But once I get them in my myopia management program, we can discuss this further, but I wow them into becoming advocates. We
Raving
become
fans.
that. What's that?
Raving fans.
Raving fans.
So you sound like you're the really compassionate. I can tell you're high energy, which is awesome. You know, sometimes you go into practice and it's just so lackluster. You want to feel and experience the energy. Do you have your staff members involved in this process and believing in the system of myopia management?
Yeah, like when they scream and say, well, I hope you're a candidate. So, because if you can, you got to be sure to ask Dr. D about this. I mean, do they prep you? Do they prep it for you?
Yeah, they don't. They used to. What they do is they'll talk about it from the heart, but it really comes from the doctor recommending it. It's like Ray said, it's like, what are we doing here? I've mentioned it a few years ago, and I always give this very true story that was a pivot point in my career. Is I had a parent, every year they would come in, every year I would recommend Ortho-K, and every year they would just get whatever their plan covered. And I remember losing it. I said, what are we doing here? Your child couldn't see this, and I showed them the 2040 line. Then they couldn't see this 2100 line. This is the big E, and they can't see it. Why are you coming to me if you're not going to take my advice? There's so many good eye doctors out there. And like it was yesterday, she says, well, how much is it? So yeah, it's exhausted me, you know, but that's a true story. So the passion comes from me. You bring up staffing, and I think this is a very important point. This myopia management is not staff friendly. The parent who's interested in myopia management is type A++.
Right.
They're not patient.
They're not. No.
I'm generalizing. But for the most part, if they're concerned that their child is progressing in myopia to the point where they're considering allowing their child to sleep with a contact lens, they're intense. So as a technique, my staff did not welcome this. They didn't say,
Yeah, we've had parents arguing in the exam room, and it's just crazy.
It is.
What if this happens? And what if this happens? And then what if I said he's doing fine for 5 years already?
Yeah.
So he's done well. We've been successful. But what if this happens? And I want a copy of all the records, every visit. I want a copy of the records and a summary. And I want copies of the topography and the refraction.
Yep. So you see my patients. Where are you located? Where are you in Kansas?
Kansas City. So
Kansas City.
But they're the same.
So
that's
type
okay to say.
Okay.
Double A.
Yeah. So that's okay. As long as you take the time. You know, one of the things that a youngest partner, Dr. Noah, who just joined the practice a year ago, taught me something that really I did but didn't vocalize it. When someone asked me these questions, like you said, even 5, 10, I said, take your time. We have all the time you need. And I'm a type A parent. I know when someone's giving me the cold shoulder.
Right.
I don't
start
mind
looking at their watch. They look around. They pick up their phone. Yeah.
standing up. You know, they're talking about the doctor or the patient.
Well, either way, they're standing up. They're taking a call, and you're like, oh, brother.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
So, you know, you're harvesting a lot of these patients inside your own practice. You're seeing them year after year, and you're giving them the spiel. And it sounds like a serious one. Just saying, look, we got to do something because it's exhausting both of us. Are you doing any external marketing efforts besides kind of that word of mouth and inside the practice?
No, I don't. I have. And let's say we do an external ad and it works. It's going to kill you and your staff because remember who's calling? The
shoppers.
Yep. No, shoppers, type A shoppers.
Oh, type A shoppers.
Now your poor receptionist goes, hi, thank you for calling Briel Eye Care. Terry speaking, how can I help you? Yes, I saw your ad in this myopia management. How much is it? Is it covered by insurance? How long does it take? Is it FDA approved? Does it qualify for reimbursement accounts, flex reimbursement accounts? Is it permanent? And now and then at the end they'll say, thank you, I'll call you back. So your receptionist hangs up and goes, Dr. Briel, there's no way we should be doing this. There's just no way. In our office, that's why we've learned the only way to grow a very healthy practice is to understand your demographic, service them well, talk to them. So I market at every checkup. So it's not only during the exam, the most important marketing, if that's what you want to call it, is in the exam room when they come in for their checks and follow-ups.
Right.
So like Ray had just mentioned, 5 years out, they'll say to me, my friend mentioned that this can cause a corneal ulcer. And their child has been wearing them. So I said, that's very important. Because anytime you sleep with a contact lens, you risk having this. But let me show you what your son was seeing 5 years ago. So I'll show the 2400 to 200. Then I'll send them data on the risk of infection, and that it's so dependent on the quality of the physician providing it, and also the parental compliance. And then they say, wow, Dr. D, thank you so much. And we're very big on talking about visual hygiene. I talk about cell phone use. I talk about excessive screen time, sleep. A lot of these kids, they're up till 10, 11 o'clock at night studying, and they're in elementary school. And sometimes as health professionals, I feel we owe it to our patients to say, come on, you know, the kid has to sleep. And I have handouts.
Well, the kid has to go outside too. Kid has to go outside, spend some time playing, looking at the horizon. So I think more and more we realize that actually some recent studies are maybe showing that's not totally true, but you know, you always get the contrast among different studies. So.
Yeah.
Right, but I have to tell you, there's a great study that the federal government is funding, where it's not only for myopia, it's for social myopia. When we go outside as kids, we talk to one another. So there's this, it's called the ABCD study. They're studying 10 and 11-year-olds over the next decade or two. And basically what they're looking at, is there any brain changes associated with screen time, among other things?
Well, as long as you're not going outside and just being on their phones together. So people now work out with their phone in one hand and they're working out with the other.
Or just, you know, when you think about when we were kids, we'd go knock on someone's door. Sometimes that parent wasn't nice. Did you ever have that when you had a friend that you loved this friend, but the parent was just like, what do you want?
Yeah.
So you learn social skills to deal with the parent. And then there's the bully. You learn to deal with the bully face. So these are all social skills that have carried us. Well, and our kids are not being exposed to that. So I talk about that in the exam room.
Well, we used to go door to door and sell things for Cub Scouts or, just different things, and learned how to make a presentation early on selling newspapers. I was a newspaper boy, like age 8. And so you had to do those things.
Yeah.
I actually had to learn how to talk to adults, but I know I hated to tell my kids that, yes, be friendly to adults, but there could be people who appear nice but are bad. So that was like one of the worst things I could tell them. But
yeah,
and it's worse now, or either it's being publicized worse.
Yeah.
But
well, Nick, you seem ultra committed, and my dad and I are always big about commitment. When we start projects, we finish them or decide early on maybe that's not right for us. So I think in optometry, we have to have commitments. We just can't dabble in things anymore, because when you start dabbling and let me test this out, let me try it, let me charge half my usual and customary fee because I'm not too experienced. I think we need to get past that phase and have a level of confidence, because that's really important. And the patients can sense that when they're in our offices.
Well, I was at an optometry meeting, local meeting last night, and I have everybody pumping me for information. I was the old guy at the meeting. Well, what do you do for this? And what do you charge? And how much? And do you have LipiFlow? Yeah. Do you have Ilux? Yeah. Do you have IPL? Yeah, I have all of it. Okay. Well, we're thinking about doing that. I said, well, I would say that either do it in a big way or refer to a colleague. I said, if I got a really good golf club, it would not make me a good golfer. I would still, it'd be a good golf club in a bad golfer's hand. They think if I just bought this piece of equipment, it's going to make it happen. Yeah. And it's not going to make it happen. Yeah. But they want to know what's the secret? And if I tell them, yeah, it's 5 years of very hard work, study, presenting, reading continuously. It's not just, oh, I've got a presentation, I'm going to study up on it.
Right.
But they don't necessarily want to hear that. So I think optometrists' dirty little secret is we do not refer for the things that we really think, oh, let me just dabble in it. You can't dabble in low vision. You can't dabble in VT. And I think it's for specialty contacts. You can learn it, but it's hard to just dabble in it. You're going to get in trouble. So,
Nick, I know you have a program that you teach. What is the name of it? And what is it? What are you doing for the profession? I know my dad's gone through it.
I can tell you, it's called Supercharge. And actually, I think Nick will tell you, it doesn't tell you how to fit the lenses, but it tells you the systems you need for your office and for your mindset and how to get motivated and how to actually execute. And I think even only a few of the people that take Nick's course probably still execute it. Is that right, Nick?
I don't know. It's a growing number. I'm getting younger. Yeah. I was laughing as you was telling the stories about newspaper, because I was a newspaper boy very young. Yeah. So, that's the secret to developing the skills you need later in life. But most of these younger folks don't even know what a newspaper is. They laugh. They just look at the New York Times or whatever on their phone.
Well, now adults have to deliver it now, and it was a highly sought after position. I mean, yes, if it locked up that newspaper job, I mean, you were just not going to get it. So it was highly sought after.
Going door to door, but
I'm getting 40 cents a month.
Yeah, so, I remember, we're getting off track, but I remember going door to door with these knives, and they would train me. Literally, I wasn't 8, but I was probably 14, 12, I don't remember. And I would say, would you like these knives, the steak knives or something? And they taught me not to give them to you, right, to show them to you and say, you just sign up for the, Star Ledger, whatever it was at the time, for 59 cents a month or whatever it was. And most would say no. And you go to the next apartment and the next one until someone said yes. And so it's rejection or whatever you want to call it was part of the game as we became adults.
And you knew that eventually somebody would buy. So the more rejections you got, the closer you were to an acceptance.
Right. Exactly.
You have to have a good attitude about it. Say, no, I present it once and nobody wants it.
Nobody likes it to get rejected, but
Oh, yeah.
when you've been through it, it's part of business.
Yeah.
So to get back to the original question,
Yes.
a lot more now. Now I've been doing this a long time. 2006 was my first Supercharge. And I give that during the Vision by Design meeting this year in San Antonio, Texas. The first attendee in 2006, I only had 4 people. 4 people.
Wow. 4 people?
It's depressing.
4 people.
It's depressing.
He came back again a year or 2 later. He's just coming back again. And the thing is that the younger ODs want practice autonomy. So even though I do it during a Vision by Design type myopia management conference, it's not about myopia control. It's about practice autonomy.
Right.
Would you agree?
Right. Exactly.
Can you define practice autonomy? What does that mean in your eyes?
It's really feeling I have control over my practice. If you ask me what is the future, I have to tell you it's going to change a lot in 10 years. You know, my partners and I have 3 partners now and soon to have a 4th. We all talk about 1-year goals, 3-year goals, 5-year, and now 10-year goals, always. And I don't think myopia management may or may not look like it does today, but I'm going to tell you, primary optometry is not going to look like it does today. It's going to look very different.
Well, I think, that's actually really exciting to us because we're different in our processes and the way we think, and it's only going to get better for us as we go with more technology and people are seeking unique services out.
Well, how's it going to look, Nick? Let's get your outlook.
I think everything, we're going to become bona fide technicians and not just optometrists. I'm not down on optometry. I've been practicing it 30 years and I really do hope that I'll practice it for another 30. But just think, the insurance plans are buying frame companies or vice versa, are now buying practices. So basically, I foresee optometry and healthcare in general as where we'll be working for an insurance company who owns the frames or lenses that we're actually prescribing for patients. And basically, we're going to not have any of this practice independence. We'll be working for somebody. I hope well paid. I think well paid. But, I don't know about you guys, but when I wanted off with my children, when they had, whether it was a Halloween party and they were 3 years old, or they're graduating at 30 years old, I was able to go there. And that's true practice autonomy. I'm not beholden to a company that says, Nick, your eye exam is worth X number of dollars. Right. So we decided long ago to get rid of all the vision care plans and just focus on the private pay patients, because they are the ones that value relationships, Perry, as you said.
Yeah.
So that's really what has prospered us. It's a mindset. And the one true thing about success, that the theme of this year of my Supercharge, is the art of saying no. I read this article by Warren Buffett. He says no to everything. And it's the opposite of what you're saying. They're coming to Ray and saying, so what's next? What are you doing? LipoFlow? Yeah. Are you doing Ortho-K? Are you doing, anti-reflective coating? What are you doing about Hubble contact lenses? What are you doing about Simply, the alternative online refraction? So they're all over the place. What you have to say is, I can't be good at everything. So let me just focus on 1 or 2 things that I enjoy that make me feel independent. And that's what we've prospered in. My partner, Barry, the founding partner, he just does vision therapy. So I really don't step on his feet. We'll talk about patient service, but I don't get involved with his area of the practice. He doesn't get involved with my myopia management.
Yeah.
My third partner does medical optometry. So what he's learned is, look, I don't need to accept all these insurance healthcare plans, except a few that reimburse me well, that treat me well. And if they don't, I'll drop them.
Yeah. So it sounds like you were an overnight success, but I want to probably reiterate, you were patient over the years and you worked the system, you developed the clientele, you built it up, and it's paid off. So I think people need to know, don't expect an overnight celebration.
Absolutely. There's no overnight success. There's just none. And if there is such a thing, it's short-lived. you can hear we sound like two old guys here talking about paper routes and, doing all this stuff. But the bottom line is that's where it started. And I think the reason why my workshop's so well respected is I tell them we've hit bottom multiple times, just like any business. I mean, rock bottom. But sometimes if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger.
Right.
Believe me, I'm not more courageous than anybody else listening in. It's just that we were faced with very difficult options. We could keep going where we were going, or like you said, go big or go home. That's my business manager, Lisa. She's been with us 30 years. She says, go big, Dr. D, or go home.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's hard for people to make that commitment, both in terms of hours and in improving your intellectual property, developing systems. We always say systems run the office and people run the system. So if something goes wrong, I want to know, what was it in the system? Where is the gap? And we're constantly trying to fill the gap there. Yeah. And then it's fun for me when I go to these meetings and they ask me about a question that's a 5 or 6 or 8 year old question. I'm thinking they still haven't figured that out yet. So, but I can't just, I would love to tell them, but there's a journey there.
Yeah.
And you just can't tell people, okay, just do this and you'll do fine.
I think one of the mottos we've always lived by in our practice is what's good for the patient is good for the practice, profitability wise. So when you're providing excellent medical care, excellent retail goods even, it's going to be great for the patient and great for the practice. So let's talk about the profitability aspect of Ortho-K. Lots of different price ranges out there, and it's kind of fascinating. Sometimes you want to get into the things for the wrong reasons. So tell us about your views of the money side of it.
Yeah, I always talk about chair cost. In optometry or healthcare, a lot of times we take a race to the bottom. We don't know how to happen to LASIK. LASIK, we actually did LASIK eye surgery in our office with a roll laser, and we had the best surgeon. And before you know it, there was a race to the bottom. So it's not optometrists.
Right.
We're healthcare providers. We don't know unless we work at it, the business aspect, so we compete on price. So chair cost means your price to open up, to turn on the lights in your office in Kansas City is probably very different than mine in Hamilton Square. Chair cost is everybody gets paid except the owners. It includes staff, it includes the electricity, the heat, the frames on the board that we take out, things of that cost. We take out the cost of goods. But basically, everybody gets paid except the owners. And it varies from community to community. If you're going to provide myopia management and you do it based on price, you're going to get burnt. Because kids are sleeping with this lens. You need to use high quality material. You need to monitor them, and you need to listen. And if you want to grow, you have to listen with expediency. It's not just shaking your head and give lip service. You have to respond. If you don't, you'll be opening up your practice to misery, because you may get busier, but if your profitability is not growing with you, you'll just get angry. And myopia management, we just said it, these patients grew up with me for the past 20 years. So it's not going to go away. So you have to be very careful as you go into it. So your chair cost, once you know what your chair cost is, you say, look, how am I going to provide this service? I can own a LipoFlow. Your office can own a LipoFlow. How much do you charge? Well, what does that matter? It's the care that I provide. When we had a dry eye clinic, we had a spa-like atmosphere because the people who were willing to pay out of pocket for dry eye wanted to be pampered. They wanted a clean office. They wanted to be really pampered well. So it's not just this machine that's heating up their eyelids. The LipoFlow is not dry eye treatment. The dry eye treatment is empathizing with the patient who's suffering so much, they want to do something about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the total workup. It's the protocol. It's the discussion of the ongoing visits and ongoing patient management. So I know there are people that say, oh, I had it, but it didn't work. Well, you may not even been the right candidate for it. Maybe your lids weren't prepared. Maybe it wasn't done right. You didn't have follow-up protocol. You weren't on the right hygiene. It's just not one thing. So, and that's going to be hard for everyone to really learn. But I do want to get to the point. I try to mention that the best practices in every locale are always the highest price practices. I've never seen the best practice to be the low price leader. And it just doesn't work that way. I mean, you just can't be the best and be the cheapest. What do you think?
Best, it depends what you define best. I think, at least in myopia management, you can be the best fitter, but that's not myopia management.
No.
It's dry eye. You know, it's caring, corresponding in between visits, making the time during the follow-up care. Right. Absolutely. So if your highest price, like LASIK, the LASIK surgeons that continue to do well in my community are not the ones that do price comparison.
Right.
High quality, high service, high aftercare. It's all connected. So I agree with you. Unless we have Ortho-K providers providing service in Chinatown. I have a Chinatown in New York. I have a Chinatown in Philadelphia. And their unique selling proposition is price. My unique selling proposition is, I'm going to take care of your child's eyes, but I'm also going to take care of your child. Right. And I'm also going to take care of your needs as a parent to make sure I answer all your questions professionally and patiently. That is chair cost. And if you don't get reimbursed for that, you're not going to provide that high quality care in anything you do. Low vision also. Right. You know, if this was a low vision podcast, we'd be talking about, a lot of people say, yeah, I tried it. It doesn't work. You know, I gave them the aids and they got frustrated and they spent all this money. It didn't work. No, you didn't provide the care maybe. Or like you said, it was the wrong aid or the wrong candidate.
Yeah, I didn't provide the training, the aftercare, answer the questions.
And the hand.
I think it's that way. It's that way in all aspects of optometry. So even with the high-end eyewear, if we do bespoke eyewear, we're scanning their head and making something custom for them. Well, that's for a person that wants that experience. And some other people say, I just want a $7.99 pair of glasses. And when you tell them you can get it to them for $100, they look at you like, I could get 10 pairs of glasses for that. Yeah. So I don't think any of the online purveyors of eyewear are profit positive yet. So they
will be. And I think this is important. They will be.
90 million a year. You know, if they lose 90 million a year, they say, okay, how many more years do we have to lose? Maybe 6. So.
I don't know all of them, but they will be, because they're not competing on quality service. They're competing on convenience.
Right.
It's 2 in the morning, 1 in the morning, get your eyes examined, get your lenses the next day. Right. The only thing I caution everyone is that you can't be everything to everyone. So if if you go into a Ritz-Carlton, you expect a certain level of service. And if I'm patronizing them, I expect that service. But I don't want to see Ramada Inn or Holiday Inn on the side entrance of that hotel. You have to commit, like we said, you have to focus. You try to be everything to everyone, there's no practice independence there. There's no autonomy.
Yeah. So let's say doctors coming out of optometry school, or maybe, they've been practicing 10, 15 years, and they get this wake-up call because they're going to listen to us here, and they say, I'm done taking as many vision plans. I'm done trying to compete with online contact lenses, and I want to start myopia management. Step 1, what do they do?
You have to make the time. The first step is you drop your weakest plans. You know what they are. If you don't, your staff will tell you. And then there will be holes in your schedule. Basically you'll be less busy. But remember, busy doesn't translate to profitable. And then you make the time to fill what we call a consult spot. So either through your examinations, that 1 in 40, 1 in 4, we at least see your 40 myopes in a week, pediatric myopes. They go into that spot. You fit them, you provide exceptional care, and they'll slowly but surely refer friends and family to you. If you want to accelerate that, you have to get the word out. Like Ray said, even though it's been FDA approved since 2002, how many years is that? That's 17
years.
People don't know about it. What is this technique? How does it stop myopia progression? So we lecture all the time. There's certain communities, athletes that are very interested in it. And how do you get these talks? Your current patients. If someone says, I've never heard of it, you offer your services to go speak to a parent group to educate them on the myopia epidemic.
Yeah.
That's how I encourage you to start.
Okay. Technical skills. Where do you kind of get that introduction?
You know, the technical skills comes with experience. You know, you can go to, if it's vision therapy, you go to COVD. If it's orthokeratology, you go to Vision by Design. So the bottom line is those skills are out there for you to learn in any specialty we undertake in our profession. It's great. It's a great profession. But making the time and the commitment, like we've been talking about, that's hard to do. If there's a will, there's a way. Trust me, it's not rocket science. None of this is. But if you want to get good at it, you have to commit to it. You have to say no to everything else that looks like potential opportunities, but all they are is draining your attention from your main focus, which should be, in this case, myopia management.
So let me contribute a little about it. So Vision by Design is a meeting pretty much dedicated to specialty lenses. It's more scleral now and Ortho-K, and it's the first couple of days that have a boot camp. And in that boot camp, you'll get all the basics. You'll also have some workshops. But for somebody that doesn't do that, I would say pick out someone who's successful in Ortho-K in your area, refer a patient, and then go along for that whole journey. And your patient will like it. Plus, it's good to refer to your colleagues so that you can get an idea of what is working and what's working for my patient. And then rely on the laboratories. There's a genius at every laboratory. So there's always a little secret sauce to these lenses, and we don't know everything, and not everyone's going to start from scratch designing them because there's several different programs we all use. But so go to boot camp, rely on your colleagues, refer, attend with them, and I think master one brand, one type of lens, and the next one will be coming along pretty soon. So
Yeah,
I think that's a good way.
There's a lot of help there. When Paragon got FDA approval in 2002, they were instrumental in really giving me some logic to this. Since then, there's many FDA approved lenses. It's out there, but you've got to make the commitment. Without the commitment, private practice, dry eye, myopia control, there's no success.
And I think part of the commitment is buying a topographer, have fitting sets, do it the right way. Don't just try and bushwhack it.
Yeah, that's goes without saying.
There's still some commentary on some of the social media. Do I need a topographer to fit them? So you really don't need a topographer to fit them. You need a topographer to know what you did and how to manage it.
Yeah,
there's plenty of companies that'll send you lenses on Ks and RX and HVID. But then what do you do? And if you don't have a topographer, you have not a leg to stand on because you have no idea what you've done to the cornea.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised for such a low-cost instrument that there's so few optometrists that still have gotten a topographer.
Yeah, that borders on malpractice in my opinion, but it missed the whole theme of this podcast is you got to care. If you're just doing this for profitability, if you don't care about the child, then you're not going to do a good job and you may hurt the child. You have to have a passion.
You have to have a passion for it. And absolutely. I think we communicate in a number of different ways. It's not just what you say. It's your body language.
Absolutely.
It is how you act and react. And if you say, oh, let's do Ortho-K and I'll make a bunch of money and you got to pay me, that's not going to work.
No way.
So they have to treat every patient just like they're the only patient you've ever had.
Yeah.
And patients have to sense it too.
All right, we're getting close here, so I want to try and we'll wrap this up.
I do want to ask Nick, well, you haven't mentioned courting referrals from your colleagues.
Yeah.
And I alluded to it a little earlier. How is that going for you particularly, and how is it going for the profession, you think, for whatever specialty care? Are we as more mature a profession as ophthalmology, where they don't have a problem in many cases referring to a colleague/competitor for an area that's just not their expertise?
We have one or two referral sources garnered over 2 decades. These are just good meaning ODs that refer their specialty care to us, whether it's specialty contacts, Ortho-K, or even vision therapy. We always follow up with letters,
Right.
but for the most part, our practice has not grown from referrals from our colleagues. I have 2, maybe 3 pretty consistent referrals, but they'll refer maybe 1 a month to me on average.
Why so few? What's the deal there?
They're not looking for, we just said, it's kind of like when you're a carpenter, everything looks like a nail.
Right.
So when we were looking for vision therapy referrals, they probably weren't doing a cover test. And if they found a high exo, they weren't asking the questions.
So could you have educated them? I mean, what could you have done to get those referrals? Like MDs refer all the time to another doctor in their building or their golf partners, or so. Are we?
I don't think so. I think
in catering to our referral sources.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a dry well.
Okay.
Basically, in VT, the majority of our referrals come from PTs.
Okay.
They come from OTs. They come from concussion specialists, neurologists, psychiatrists, paraprofessionals, not optometrists. Although we get quite a few, not the majority. In Ortho-K, it's friends and family. This is where you grow your office. I don't know why, or I'm just saying, basically, if you're not looking, if you don't buy into that myopia is a disease, then it just doesn't work. And the other question is, you may think for myopia management, Ray, if I was a general OD and I saw this type A++ parent, and I'm going to refer them to Dr. Briel for myopia management, they're going to say, what is this? How much does it cost? How come you can't do it?
Yeah.
Does insurance cover it? And then you're like 2 patients behind, because remember, the parent who's interested in myopia management doesn't discern whether it's with you that I'm taking up your time or Dr. D. So we had this incident with atropine.
Okay.
I've been prescribing off-label use of atropine for over 10 years. Had a local pharmacist I played golf with, nice guy. We always sent each other some fruits at the end of the year. He compounded all my eye drops in the days when we had ulcers and things like that. We started doing atropine. He goes, Nick, I could do that. I have a hood. I'm certified for eye drops. After a year, our relationship soured, because he says, your patients could come in here. How come my insurance plan doesn't pay for this? How come Dr. D is the only one who prescribes this? How come I can only get it from you? How come it comes in a small bottle? He was charging, let's say, I don't know, $50. It wasn't worth it. Yeah. So the questions were overwhelming him, whereas now I don't even speak to him. I don't get a plan from him. He doesn't get a plan from me. And hopefully if I see him in the street, I'll wave. But that relationship has soured. It takes
Does he get your RXs still? He gets your RXs?
He does get our RXs, yeah. But thank God, no more compounding. We've gotten a lot better.
Yeah. Why don't you touch on the other aspects? It seems like I just looked at the 2018 trends, and I was surprised to see soft multifocals exceeding Ortho-K lenses for myopia management. When did that happen?
Yeah, I haven't heard that, but I could tell you my patient base is not interested in a daytime soft lens, number one.
I agree with you.
Number two, when I fit them with a soft multifocal, let's say if a patient is, let's say, -7 out of the protocol, it's not easy fitting them. And it sometimes makes a presbyope seem easy because they're very sensitive to blur.
Right.
So although we know we have to prescribe maximum plus, they're very sensitive. They get night glare. They complain of headaches. They rip the soft lenses. So in our office, we charge the same fee for an Ortho-K fit as we do for a soft bifocal fit because the patient's the same. The family's the same. The demands are the same.
Just the lens cost is different.
What's that?
Just the lens cost is different.
Yeah. I don't even know if it is. I think our program, we cover it for 2 years, a year supply. And then after that, it's up to them to refill it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah. I'm surprised, but I don't think it'll stay like that. We'll see. At least if they're doing it.
Even on that -7, one thing that optometrists should know is that if you do a proper fit on a -7, you only get them to a -5, you are still doing the same amount of myopia prevention. And they don't have to be 20/20. And the studies show that you are still preventing further myopia change. And that's kind of nice to know, because maybe they just have to wear a -2 for walking around or driving, but they're still getting the myopia control. So that's one of the more recent studies, which I think is fascinating, because maybe we can't get a -8. Maybe you can only get them to a -6.
You know, I will say I recently did Ortho-K last year just to try it out again. I was just tired of wearing glasses. I just don't want the weight on my face. And I'm a fashion guy. I love eyewear. But I was happy with a minus. I'm a -7. I was happy with a -2. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is wonderful. So I think the expectations the patient has is sometimes not perfection, as long as you set it correctly.
Yeah, I haven't been successful in that, because the patients who come to me really expect 20/20 vision, whatever that means.
Yeah.
So I wasn't familiar with that study, but as far as our patient base, they really want quote unquote perfection, even though it doesn't exist.
Right.
So I would agree with you. Yes, being a -2 is a heck of a lot better than being a -7. In our office, if I can't properly get them down to Plano in that vicinity, then we'll talk about soft bifocals.
What about adults? I know you have a pediatric practice primarily for Ortho-K. I have about half adults and half kids. So what do you do with the adult that wants it, or the adult that wants it for presbyopia, or more commonly now, the former LASIK patient that says,
right.
I don't want more surgery. Can you finish me up? What do you do with those adults?
This is me. I don't do adults anymore. Not that I can't. It's a distraction. Remember, kids, they're getting two different advantages: myopia control of sorts,
right,
and freedom from eyeglasses during the day. Adults, they're not going to refer other adults to me. They have different visual demands. Like Perry, they're driving at night. Sometimes they skip. I can fit them, and I certainly have had many, many adults, but I've learned to focus and narrow my focus just to pediatric myopes. I don't do hyperopes. I don't do presbyopes. I don't do adults. I just do myopic children.
Do you refer those out, though?
No, it's a very good question. I don't.
Okay.
I really don't. It's very interesting. That's a very interesting statement. Ivan, my partner, who's probably in his 40s now, he still wears them.
I see. Good.
It's a very good point. No, I don't refer them out. I don't. I refer them to a website, but I don't refer them to a practitioner, and God knows there's a boatload to them. Maybe I will. So you taught me something. Yeah.
See, well, I mean, maybe you'll walk the talk on that, right?
Yeah.
And they'll probably say, never refer me another adult again.
No.
Share the love, as Luke Catania used to say. Share the love on those. All right. Well, Nick, tell us a little bit about your TED Talk. I mean, I watched it. It was fabulous. If with your permission, I like to show it to all my Ortho-K patients and say, this is what the expert in the industry has to say about myopia prevention. So yeah. I don't know any other TED Talker, if that's the right term, but how did you get to that? How did you do it? Why did you do it?
Yeah, this is a testament to what we were talking about earlier of perseverance. The title of the TED Talk is A Childhood Disease Worth Preventing. And I just gave it in 2018. It's not my talk. It's a TED Talk. I don't own the rights to it. And I think they would love for you to share it with all your patients.
Okay.
All your patients. And you can find it on YouTube. But
did you have to apply for this opportunity, or how did it come about?
Yeah. Since 2012. So it took me 6 years to audition. And I'm a pretty good speaker. I'm a confident speaker. I couldn't get to the second audition. There's several auditions. The first is an audio audition usually, or video audition, 1 minute. And nobody seemed to be interested in the myopia epidemic.
I see.
And the last one, I got very close. I got another phone call. I felt like an actor. I got the second phone call.
You got a call back.
Got a call back.
Okay.
And I got a rejection saying, thank you. We got a lot of good talks. And I hired this person as a coach. I didn't give up. I said, listen, there's a disconnect here. And what she told me, my talk was not focused. You have to have, first of all, the TED Talk has to correlate with the theme of the TED Symposium.
Oh, the event.
Passion. And I was able to articulate my passion on children needing some type of education, parents needing that our kids are becoming myopic and they're jeopardizing their eyesight when they get older. And worse yet, I feel visual myopia is a symptom of a much bigger problem, which I label social myopia. Our kids are not looking at one another. They're communicating online, maybe FaceTime, Snapchat, Instagram, but they're not talking to one another. So that's how that came about. And then I wrote a book, a follow-up book, is A Parent's Guide to Raising Children with Healthy Vision. So yeah, it's a true passion of mine. You can't fake this.
Right.
You really can't.
Well, I would suggest that all the podcast listeners and viewers go YouTube that. I mean, it will motivate you, even if you're already motivated. And we're so proud of you, Nick. So you've shepherded a part of optometry through the orthokeratology journey here. You've been doing it successfully. A lot of people who lecture are not in the trenches. They're academics. They do research. And there you are. You walk the talk. You have plenty of videos about how you do things in your practice. You're sharing the information. And I think that we are all colleagues first. Yeah, there's some competitiveness in there, but there's all sorts of ways to do things. But you have really shown more about your passion for your profession and for the patients. And it comes through in every way that you present yourself. And we're so happy that you were able to spend time here on Eyetrepreneur to give people a little insight in how you did it, from newspaper boy to TED Talker. I mean, that's quite a journey there.
Thank you.
So
I appreciate that very much. Thank you. Coming from you, that means a lot. I appreciate it.
Well, how would people contact you if they want further information? Perhaps you could tell us a little bit of your contact.
Superchargeyourpractice.com is the workshop, and you could just do on YouTube, A Childhood Disease Worth Preventing.
And we're going to have a link to that on the Eyetrepreneur.com website. You'll find that there, a direct link to it.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
You're so welcome. Thanks for joining us. And go ahead and start Ortho-K and just try it out. Scratch that last sentence.
Well, I would say for Nick's case, do as I do and do it. Just do it, but do it with knowledge, do it with passion.
Yeah.
And I think you will be successful. Don't be too impatient about it. It does take time, and it takes time to learn. And if you don't want to do it, refer to somebody else who has the passion. And that's what our profession needs to do. We need to grow up a little bit and say, these are things I like to do. And if I don't like to do it, I'm going to refer you to somebody who has the passion. And of course, they should get the referral letter and do it just like we'd want to have it done if we've referred a patient out. So thanks again, Nick. And we will
guys
at Vision by Design Supercharge in what dates? What's the dates?
It's May 17th, 2019 in San Antonio, Texas.
All right. Yeah. Very good. Thanks again.
Wonderful.
Thank you, guys.
Take care. Have a good day.
Guys. Thank you. Enjoy.
This brings us to the end of another episode of Eyetrepreneur, the podcast for Wizards of Eyes. Go ahead and click over to our website, eyetrepreneur.com, or head over to Facebook to join our special Facebook group, Eyetrepreneur. See you there.